Hello and welcome to the United Stand. Mark Goldbridge here, live on his lunch, reacting to a couple of things. Obviously we've got Celta Vigo in the Europa League. It was always going to be an interesting draw. I think that is probably over two legs. I think Ajax, Lyon or Celta Vigo, you're going to be potentially a difficult game, but we should be good enough to beat them, but we don't know because we saw that yesterday, didn't we? I want to talk about Zlatan Ibrahimovic's injury because I think that has been sort of subdued and kept down on the down low. From what I've saw of it, I mean, there is hope, because Luke Shaw said that he was walking around freely in the dressing room afterwards. We saw Rojo hobbling out. I think Rojo's gone till at least May, end of May, middle May. But Zlatan's injury, I think, is more important. It's more topical. We've spoken over the last few days about whether Zlatan, as a player, is holding us back. And certainly in the first half yesterday, I think you would have to say that it did hold us back. You know, Anderlecht are not a great side. They're a decent side. They're not a great side. But it was too tactically easy for them to play a high line and presses in our own half, and we didn't have that out ball. Of course, when we put Rashford up there against Chelsea and in the extra time yesterday, it gives us more pace up front. So I don't know whether I don't know what people's thoughts are about Zlatan really, but I think he probably will be out for the season, and that in itself is a sad thing, because I think it's a double-edged sword, because he will get picked all the time and he will always play, and that isn't necessarily right, because we saw in the first half yesterday teams can figure us out when we play Zlatan up front. But I think to have him as an option up front would be preferable than not. So if he's out injured for the rest of the season, that's him out for the rest of the season, isn't it? You don't get to use him, and that's unfortunate. I'm excited by the prospect of him being out, not being an option, because I think it allows us to use Rashford and Martial more, and I think that pace is really going to be important. We can almost catch teams on the hop, I think, for the last few weeks of the season, because we've not been playing this way, and I think the team looks more comfortable. I think Pogba looks more comfortable, Carrick looks more comfortable, Herrera looks more comfortable against Chelsea, Mkhitaryan as well, when they've got somebody up front who's going to move, who's quick at moving. And I thought Lingard yesterday, to be honest, I think when he came off, I felt a bit sorry for him, because he didn't have a great game, but a few people didn't have a great game, but his pace can be really important on the break. So yeah, Celta Vigo in the semi-final, fantastic draw in many ways, because it will be a nice trip to Spain. I think it will set us up well for the final. I'd rather have got Lyon, because I think Lyon are the better team, and I think as a one-off we were going to get somebody difficult in the final if we get to the final. So it's the draw is a bit meh. There's no there is excitement in the draw, because I can't wait for it, but I think any of those draws was going to be difficult. But my major concern, to be honest, after last night, which was fantastic, if you're on the watch along, it was absolutely brilliant, but I think my major concern going forward really is the injuries. We've lost Mata for the season. Jones and Smalling are no loss really. I mean, I like Smalling, it'd be nice if he was fit. Rojo's a big loss, but I think Daley Blind can step up, as Luke Everson says. We've also got Darmian, who I think can fill in at centre-back as well. But the Zlatan injury, I think what you lose with Zlatan as well, that a lot of people don't realise, is the leadership. I know he doesn't wear the captain's armband, but he is a born leader and people look up to him. And I think that's where people like Wayne Rooney need to get their act together. It's probably going to be his twilight last few weeks at Manchester United. If he can get his act together, you know, we're going to potentially win a trophy we've never won, he's never won before, in the Europa League. We're still fighting for top four. If Rooney can come back and Martial can kick on. I know Martial, when he came on as a sub yesterday for Zlatan, he didn't have a great first 15 minutes, but his last 15 minutes, when he grew into it, he got better. And I think that was the story of yesterday's game. I think a lot of people, there's a few people a bit negative about it, but I think the reality is that it was like many performances we had at Old Trafford, in the fact that we missed chances, but perseverance and experience that the players got from that will stand us in good stead for the rest of the season. Luke Shaw didn't start the game off very well, but he fought through it, and he played. By the end of it, he was playing really well. I think Martial, although he only had a half an hour cameo, was the same. Pogba, the bits of brilliance and bits of bad play. I mean, the great thing about Pogba is he's being called a flop again by all our rivals, but I think pound to a penny of shit, every Manchester United fan backs Pogba. The only people obsessed with Pogba and calling him a flop are people who don't support Manchester United. And you know what? He's never going to play for you anyway, so keep talking and we'll keep walking, because Manchester United, you know, I think that game yesterday just epitomises what football is. You never know what's going to happen. Yeah, we should have won that game, we should have put them away in normal time, but you never know what's going to happen in football. We could have been knocked out last night. I think penalties, I'm so glad we didn't go to penalties. I think if it had gone to penalties, we would have been in big trouble. Fosu Mensah and Twansibi need to step up, said somebody there. I don't think he will use them. I think even with Rojo out, you've got Blind who can play there, you've got Darmian who can play there, you've got Carrick who can play there. But I cannot overemphasise the importance of people like Luke Shaw, Wayne Rooney and Anthony Martial. They've got to come back and, you know, almost replace Zlatan, Mata and Rojo in the squad so that we're not threadbare. I mean, we're playing Burnley on Sunday lunchtime after 120 minutes of football for a lot of them. If we can get a result there, and then we've got City on Thursday, it's relentless. But the draw, it's the Europa League's where it's all about. The draw was always going to be potentially difficult. We could have been talking about Ajax or Leon, and that would have been, you know, had its own challenges. But more importantly, I do think that Zlatan will be out for the season, and I think if he is out the season, the purpose of this video is to sort of gauge what Manchester United fans are thinking. Are you not happy but sort of happy in the fact that it will allow us to play the way that we play best, with pace? Or are you concerned that in those tight games, I mean, the problem is, and I would say this, I mean, I'm a big Zlatan fan, but I think yesterday the fact that he came off sort of helped us, because he didn't have a good game yesterday. But the thing I like about Zlatan, we will come up against teams who park the bus against us, and Zlatan at 6'5" in a team that's camped in their own box is a huge asset, probably the biggest asset in world football as a striker. 6'5", decent in the air, but without him it does get exciting with Rashford. I think Rashford's the form player at the moment in Europe with Mbappe, and I think the leadership that he showed yesterday for such a young lad obviously impressed Mourinho. Luke Shaw impressed Mourinho. Martial needs to step up to the plate. I'm excited by Manchester United, and I think again another big performance yesterday was, we expect it of Carrick, we've seen it from Herrera, but another big performance yesterday I felt was from Paul Pogba, in relation to, you know, he kept going and going and going, and he never gave up, and he's only 23, 24, isn't he? So big performances all round, really. Fellaini can play at number 10, says Sean Magner. You know, I've been critical of Fellaini for 3 years now, but surprise, surprise, you put Fellaini in the opposition's penalty box and he causes all sorts of problems. A disallowed goal that he set up for Pogba, and then the winner for Rashford. I think Fellaini is going to be very important in these last few weeks, for exactly the reason people like me have said, and you've said for a long time. In the box, he's an asset, and what we're going to lose with Zlatan, we can deal with Fellaini. I mean, off the top of my head, how I would be playing at the moment, if our best team in Europe should be De Gea in goal, Valencia right back, Bailly and Blind, Shaw at left back, a midfield comprising of Herrera and Pogba, Mkhitaryan on the right, Rashford up front, Martial on the left, and Fellaini sort of supporting Rashford. That's the best way to go with the resources we've got at the moment, and it's a decent side. You've still got Lingard and Rooney on the bench, so yeah, I think Fellaini becomes very important now as the player he always should have been important as, somebody that we can utilise in the opposition's box. Get him away from the centre circle. He's too slow, his passing range isn't good enough. Put him in the opposition's box and things will open up for those fast players around us. Kids thinks we're screwed. I think it's going to be a very interesting end to the season. I think it's going to be very challenging. I was worried last night, because I think if it had gone to penalties with Anderlecht, they had nothing to lose. We dominated them for so long that they probably would have knocked us out. So we stay in the tournament, which is a massive positive. I don't think we'll get top four. I think the running is too hard, and with the injuries and everything, but we've got to keep fighting for it. It's the Europa League where it's at. We've got 3 big cup finals, 2 against Celta Vigo and hopefully the final. But it's not going to be easy, and I think Anderlecht opened a lot of people's eyes yesterday, that they think, well, the priority is Europa League, we've got to win that and get Champions League football. It's not going to be easy, but if we do it, it's going to be amazing. So I'm looking forward to it. We're live tonight at 8:30 with the preview of Burnley, picking up on lots of things from the day as well. So join us in the studio for that. But just wanted to go quickly live, just really to talk about Zlatan. So leave your comments below about that, and also drop us a like on the video, give us your thoughts on the Europa League draw. But nice to go a little bit raw sometimes, isn't it? Especially when I'm on my lunch break. If you watched Line of Duty, you might recognise areas where I'm walking around at the moment in Birmingham. But I enjoyed that. I'll speak to you tonight at 8:30. Enjoy the rest of your Friday. We're nearly at the weekend. United roll on, so do we. Thanks for watching.